And we can get going. Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Jessica. I am one of the study abroad officers, and I am joined today with Nina, who is also another study abroad officer. We're going to be talking to you today about how to apply for your exchange. We're going to walk through a full application and show or speak about the different components that you will need to fill out. So I'm actually going to be showing you a live application. So just in case things time out, I hope they don't, but just in case they do, please just bear with me while we sort out some tech issues. Nina will be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation and addressing questions there. However, she may leave some questions just to address at the end for the Q&A session. Nina will also be jumping in from time to time just to talk about, or just to add comments or instructions or anything like that, if there is something else that needs to be said. So before we get going, I would just like to start with a land acknowledgement. So I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Patsy, Coquitlam, Kite, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen peoples on whose traditional territories our 3 SFU campuses reside, and this presentation is taking place. Me personally, I am coming to you from the Kite territory, and I'm really grateful to be here with all of you today. So I am going to stop share my screen just for a second, and I am going to reshare the application and start walking everybody through that today. Okay, so this is not yet the application. This is on the website. And the first thing that you should do when you're planning or when you're about to start your application is just to determine that you are eligible. So as you can see here, these are some of the eligibility requirements that all students need to meet before they can apply. So you need to have a minimum of 36 units with a minimum of 12 done at SFU. You need to be approved in a program specialization or have an intended one. You also need to have achieved a minimum of a CGPA of 2.67 or higher, as some partner institutions require that. If for whatever reason, there's many reasons why we may not meet the CGPA of 2.67, you may be able to apply for the exchange eligibility appeal process. You can find more information about that on the website as well, and the deadline to apply for that is January 15th. So next, after you've determined that you're eligible, you can move on to your destination search. So again, this is the destination search page, which I'm sure most of you have seen. You can search by type of program, by destination, term, subject area, and then all of the programs are down here as well. When you are searching for these, for the different countries or institutions or programs, you will find that there's lots of information on accommodation, term dates, course availability, course restrictions, and many other things. One thing to keep in mind when you are searching for programs is that some things may be different, and you need to think about these in ways that are maybe different from SFU's terminology or something like that. So things called like term dates might be called something different. Types of accommodation might be different. The names of courses might be different. Terminology for the calendar for units or credits, the grading system, the amount of information online. And a good thing to do is when you are on those host institution pages and looking for things, to filter by English taught courses if it's applicable. Again, subject areas might be different. So something like we call communications here, it might be called media studies elsewhere. And just so you are aware, when you're looking through this big list, the ones with business in the name are strictly for business majors only. So moving on, you're doing some searching, and now you're finding some pages where you're finding schools that, or you're finding institutions that look really interesting to you. there are some things on the page that you really need to make sure you're looking at. I want to point out this one first. This is the application deadline. At the top of the pages, they will have application deadlines. And as many of you know, we have 2 application deadlines coming up. So some institutions have a January 15th deadline, others have a January 25th deadline. We'll be talking about this a little bit later in the presentation as well. Some other things to check when you're on these pages. Check the eligibility for each institution that you're hoping to go to. There may be some different requirements, and it's just good to know if you are eligible for it. Check the term dates. Some may be different to SFU. And as well, check any other academic requirements. Some institutions may require a different number of units to have been taken before you will be eligible to attend. So after you've done all of this, you've determined your eligibility, you've found the institutions, then you can start your application. And thankfully, it has not timed out on me, which is great. So I'm going to be doing just a little bit of scrolling now. I'll keep it slow so everyone can still follow. The first step in your application are selecting the exchange institutions. I'm sure most of you have been here by now, but if you haven't, you can see the instructions here for how to list your preferences. So again, eligibility, you can check the terms available, and you must list them in order of preference. So I'm going to scroll right down to there. So you'll see that I have only 2 choices right now. So my first choice is the University of Mexico. My second one is Aalto University. If I wanted to change this, I could easily just drag it and change my preferences that way. To add a third, because we do ask that you all have 3 choices, it's recommended. You can just simply click add item, and you can select your institution and your term that you want to apply for. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you are applying for 2 separate institutions for 2 separate exchange terms, you must complete and submit 2 separate applications. One other thing to note is that, as I mentioned before, some institutions have a deadline of January 15th. Other institutions have a deadline of January 25th. If in your application you are applying for, let's say you're applying for only fall 2022, but you have one institution that has a January 15th deadline and you have 2 that have a January 25th deadline. Make sure in your application, the January 15th institution deadline, or the January 15th deadline for that institution, is your first choice. The institutions with January 25th can come second. If you don't put your January 15th as your first choice, we won't be reviewing those choices when it comes to the January 25th round. So it's just really important that January 15th institutions always come first if you are finding you're in a situation where you have both. Okay, and then a little bit down further, we have a comment box. So this is just if you have any comments regarding your institution preference. The example there is, if you're happy with any 3, just let us know. It doesn't impact your exchange application anyway. It's just good for us to know. And then right at the bottom here, we have a little checkbox for you to mark off, just that so we know that you've looked at your eligibility and that you understand that you are eligible. Okay, so COVID-19 considerations is the next step in your application. So please make sure you are reading and considering these really carefully. Things change at the last moment, and it is really important to weigh all options when you're planning for study abroad. We do encourage you to apply for programs that you are interested in, though you may need to consider that future in-person cancellations do remain possible. Everything is so uncertain even right now. So this is really just something that everybody needs to take into consideration. You'll notice on this page, we do have the COVID-19 and Study Abroad webpage, and I would really, really encourage you to read that, as it has considerations for applying for an exchange. And these considerations include financial considerations as well. This webpage is updated regularly, so please always check back as you're moving through kind of the application process. Okay, so the next step is your academic documents. So you will notice that this round, we have a new process for academic references. So a written reference letter is no longer required for the exchange or for the SFU exchange application portion. You only need to indicate that you have someone willing to act as a reference if they are ready to do so at a later date. Make sure that as you are going through this portion and as you're talking to your professors, asking them if they will be your referee, that you are just aware that certain institutions have different processes and requirements for references. So some, for example, have more than one reference required, so you'll have to get likely. Some have reference requirements where they have their own form that you need to fill out, and it needs to be done within a week of nomination. So these are just really important things to let your professors know that this might be coming and they might be required to submit this really quickly. We will reach out to you after nomination to let you know if your nominated institution does require a reference letter. And moving on from the referencing, is the advising transcript. So fall grades have now been posted, hopefully. So now you can upload your SFU advising transcript and make sure you upload it in both view. It will show your academic record by term and subject. And yeah, just make sure that your fall grades are posted when you upload it. Other transcripts, these are optional but strongly recommended. You know, if you have unofficial transcripts from other institutions that are not IB or AP credits from high school, we recommend that you do upload these, especially if you have completed, you know, few terms or units at SFU, or if you have transferred credits in from another post-secondary institution. This is just good for the selection committee to know and to see kind of your full picture of your academic history. One thing that's really important to note is that if you are nominated for an exchange, you will have to get an official transcript from all of the institutions, the post-secondary institutions that you have studied at. So it is really important to get these requested as early as possible so they come in on time. Okay, next step in your application is the advisor discussion worksheet. So study abroad officers, myself and Nina, we cannot fill this out for you. You will need to meet with with one of your academic advisors for the academic program that is most relevant to what you're studying at SFU for this exchange, or your departmental advisors. I am just going to show you the form. So for this, students are required to complete the top portion before you send it off to your academic advisor. When you all are grabbing this form from the application, please make sure after you click it that you do download it. Mine is not showing up right now, but on this part, you will know you have done it correctly when there is a little red flag here for your academic advisor to digitally sign. You can run into problems all the time. So, you know, if that doesn't pop up, you can also just add on an email from your academic advisor stating that you've met with them and that you filled this form out and everything is good to go. But yeah, you all need to fill out the top, and then your academic advisors can fill out the bottom. Next on the list is your proposed study plan. So you need to upload a separate study plan for each of your exchange institution choices. So if you have 3 choices, you do need to do a proposed study plan for each of these choices. When you are planning for your courses, often if you're planning for a fall 2022 semester, schools may not have released their course catalog for that semester yet. So what you need to do is go back to the last semester. So you will go back to a fall 2021 semester and see what courses were offered then and use those courses to inform your plans for your upcoming exchange semesters. This is just a proposed study plan, so that is why we ask you to choose between 6 to 8 choices, just in case, for whatever reason, your course isn't being offered as you had planned. There's other ones that you can take as well. Look for courses that are available to exchange students, as some institutions have restricted programs that exchange students can't access. And yeah, complete this, if you're applying for a couple semesters as well, complete this for each semester that you're applying for and for each institution. And I will show you the proposed study plan. So you'll fill out the top here with all of the information with your host city and country. And then you'll go down, step 3 is they're all important steps, but step 3 especially, like, just make sure that this course is normally offered in the term that you want to go in. So that just means you're checking the last term and seeing that the course was available then too. So then you'll see here you have the page where you can plan your courses. You'll put your title, the course code at the partner, the department or faculty, units, language of instruction. Many of you have noticed that there are exchange credit histories on each of the program pages when you're looking for your courses. And this is great because you can see courses that have been previously evaluated. And if you would like to take those and they work for your program, you can put it in here. So that's what you would do. If you want to take a course and you see that it has been previously evaluated, you'll put yes. If you haven't seen a course, or if you have chosen a course but it's not previously evaluated, that's no problem at all. You just have to put no here, and this has no bearing on your application or the selection as well. You will just have to take a step further and apply for the exchange credit transfer process as well. And okay, so you've completed your proposed study plan. Everything is going good. You've met with your academic advisor and filled out your advisor discussion worksheet. Then there's just a few check boxes that we need you to acknowledge. So you have uploaded your study plan. You're giving us permission to order your official transcript, and we are able to order your official transcript. So this just means that you've cleared all fees on your account by your deadline, and that any other accounts on or any other blocks in your account are cleared. And then permission to disclose information to the host institution. We need to do this in order to nominate you. So just acknowledge that you are okay with that as well. Next step is the statement of interest. So this one here, make sure it is as strong as possible, because this is something that is considered in the selection process. Be sure to write in good detail when answering each of the questions. And just so you know, if you have had an exchange that has been canceled in the past due to the pandemic, if this is one of your motivations for applying, please do note this in your statement of interest. And if you have any extenuating circumstances that you want to share with the committee, this can actually be added into the additional documents section. So there's no need to take up space here. You can add that as a separate thing later in the application. Okay, so personal documents. I am going to just run through these quite quickly. So just upload a photo of yourself. This obviously isn't me, but it's just an example. And just make sure they are following all of this criteria here. As you can see, selfies are accepted. So this should be fairly easy to do. Your passport or travel document scan. So scan and upload the photo identification page of your passport or travel document. And just keep in mind that you're responsible for ensuring that your passport is up to date. And in some cases, it may need to be valid for 6 months after your return to Canada date. So this is really important to note. Note your expiry dates in your passport, and if you do need to update it before you go, or update it, or you're updating it now, that's no problem at all. If you are in the process of updating it right now, You just need to indicate your plans for updating your passport or upload a receipt that it's kind of there and it's in the process. And yeah, just make sure that, right now these are taking a little bit longer. So just make sure that you're really aware of how long your passport is valid for. For countries of citizenship, you are able to put, if you have citizenship in 2 different countries, you're able to put those here, and then just let us know your passport expiration date as well if you want. Yeah, okay, moving on. Emergency contacts, just put these down. If you have an English speaking contact, that is preferred. This doesn't necessarily have to be your mom or dad or guardian. Or parental figure. It can really be anybody who you trust and are comfortable with to act as your emergency contact. Just make sure that you have permission from the person who you would like to put as your emergency contact, that they are okay with you using their name and their information here. Next is just the consent to disclose personal information. So completing this information is optional, but is strongly recommended. So this is just basically letting us know if you're happy for other people to inquire about information about your exchange. When I'm doing a little bit of scrolling here too. So when you see these questions, for example, you're more than welcome, if you're okay with it, you're more than welcome to just copy paste the examples in here, as I have done here. Down there, I've put a little bit more information, but again, you can just copy paste the examples that they have provided there. Acknowledgement, waiver, and additional documents. So this section here, you can put in, as I was mentioning before, if you have any extenuating circumstances that you would like the selection committee to know, you can upload it here in additional documents. But this is where you are going to get the student waiver, fill it out, and the acknowledgement and fill it out. So I believe these are ready or nearly ready. So they should be up on the website very, very soon, if not already. This is an example of the waiver. Apologies for the scrolling in this one, but I am going to take everybody right through it. So this is how you're filling out the waiver. You will notice that this top part here is yellow and outlined in red. These need to be handed in as you see them on the computer. They can't be in black and white, they have to be in color. And here's how you'll fill it in. You're typing your legal name, your student number, your street address, city, province, postal code, country. Pretty self-explanatory. You need to write your initials in these boxes. It can't be a check or an X. It needs to be your initials. So you will just go through and initial. Again, please print this document in color in 8.5 by 11, which is its original letter size, and double-sided is preferred. So you're continuing to carefully read through all of these things, all of the acknowledgements and the understandings that you need to do. You're writing your initials in the boxes. You'll come down to here and you can sign. So this one needs to be handed in hard copy. And you have until February 15th to hand a hard copy of this into International Student Services, or International Services for Students, pardon me. So when you're signing, you need to handwrite this in ink and write your legal name clearly. You need to sign this form in the presence of another person who can also sign this as your witness. Your witness needs to be over 19, but they will also need to handwrite this in ink and write their names clearly. And again, please just make sure this is in color. It's 8.5 by 11 and double-sided is preferred. On to the acknowledgement. So this one can be uploaded to your application. This one doesn't need to be handed in hard copy. So again, with this one, please read through everything really carefully and fill it out. For full-time programs, this is information about payment. For short-term programs, this is information about payment and fee-paying programs. As you go through this, make sure you're reading everything quite carefully. I am going to scroll quite quickly through this, everybody, so you can shut your eyes until I get to the end if you need to. Yeah, so at the end, you're going to be initialing if you are wanting to give consent to these two things. It's optional, you don't have to. So you don't have to initial if you don't want to. And then again, you're going to sign, date, and print your name. And if you are younger than 19, you need your parent or guardian to sign down here. When you are uploading this form, please make sure you have all 9 pages as one single PDF document. So just because there's some pages where you won't be writing on, we need to see the full document with all of the parts that you need to sign completed. Okay, and then coming to the end here, we have just you need to confirm that the signature in the attached student acknowledgement form is yours, and you can put today's date if that is in fact the case. Coming to the end, everybody, I don't know why that shows that, but this one is going to be the Study Abroad Awards. So these are funding to support students participating in a full-time formal exchange program through SFU. And there are awards valued at $1,000 to $2,500, and you can only receive one per application. So these awards are given out based on a combination of criteria. This includes academic standing, involvement in international activities, and responses to application questions. This page, you can read through this page to determine if you're eligible for the suite of Study Abroad awards. So as you can all see, I'm going to try and go really slowly through this. You'll see some awards and their value that they carry. The awards application deadline is the same as the exchange deadline you are applying for. And here is all of the eligibility that you should read through just to determine if you are eligible. We're going to jump right to the bottom of the page. I have just put no, not eligible here, just as an example, but there are 3 selections that you can make here: yes, no, or no, not eligible. If you are applying for a full-time in-person exchange, you are likely going to be eligible for this. So please don't assume you are not eligible. If you determine that you are eligible and you want to apply, it's just a simple checking yes to apply for the Suite of Study Abroad Awards. I believe Nina is going to put some information in the chat directly related to Study Abroad Awards and financial aid as well. Okay, COVID-19 considerations again. Last page, this one's really easy. This is basically just for you to tell us how you found out the exchange by answering some of the questions. So it is just a bunch of check boxes that you can go through to answer the questions. So you've come to the end. You can review and save and submit your application when you are ready. So I'm going to stop sharing and put the PowerPoint back up. And I just have a few last items, and then we can get to the question, the Q&A portion here. Okay. So exchange credit. When you're on exchange, all courses that you take on exchange will transfer back to your SFU record as exchange credit as long as you pass the course. It is an academic credit bearing course and is listed on your transcript. It's not a duplicate of a course that you have already completed. And you can apply for exchange credit. You apply for exchange credit prior to your graduation. You will find that most universities are on a different credit system than SFU. You will see exchange credit ratio posted on each of the partner profile to help determine how much each course would be worth at SFU. So sometimes you might see ECTS, And there will be an exchange credit ratio to show you how much that would be at SFU. So depending on the content of the course, it may either transfer back as an exact match to an SFU course. So it would come back as Communication 331, a subject match, but not exact. So it would just come back as a general communications, or 3XX, or general credit only in cases where SFU does not offer a related subject or where credit is not approved by the applicable SFU department. It will come back as the example that you see down here. The way that your courses do come back will be determined through the formal exchange credit process. And if you need to go through this process, you can start after you have been nominated for an exchange. So you can start after nomination and try and get those questions in as early, or the application in as early as possible. Your grades from exchange do not transfer back to SFU. However, they will appear on your host university transcript, which will be considered for any future academic program application such as grad school. So it is really important. You are on an academic program, so it is really important that you are, doing your best in your courses and completing all of the requirements needed. When you return from exchange, your SFU GPA is the same before you left. So the courses you take abroad will not impact your GPA. And for any BD School of Business students, there is a course planning database that you can check to see how some business courses taken abroad have come back to. So just a brief note on the selection of applicants. So just keep in mind that exchange is a competitive process, and this is due to the spaces available at partner universities. We do have these spaces available, or terms available posted online, pardon me. This is an academic exchange, thus your CGPA is important and will be taken into consideration. But also there are other things that come into play when they're selecting. So make sure you sell yourself in your statement of interest, and that all of your other components of your application are really strong too. So applicants are notified of their application status after the application deadline via email, and we will keep you updated surrounding these anticipated timeframes. And finally, if you need more info and want to get in contact with us, you can contact myself or Nina at these emails. I advise on Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Nina advises on Asia, South Pacific, and the Americas. Or you can schedule an appointment via phone or Zoom with us on AdvisorLink. And if for whatever reason you can't find an appointment, you can email us at those emails as well. So that is it for the presentation portion. Thank you, everybody. I hope that was really helpful. I am going to just stop the record right now, so then we can get into the Q&A portion.